Okay, today we're going to be starting with intervals on the piano, and we're going to start talking about whole steps, half steps, and enharmonic notes. This is a very, very important lesson. If we don't, I say this a lot of times, but very, very important stuff that we're talking about here, okay? I mean, some of you are wanting to get to intervals, and this is necessary to get there. Yes, sir.
Are we using the keyboard today?
Not today. No, not today. But I think that this class can handle that, so probably at some point. All right, so we've got a couple of vocabulary words we need to add in, okay? And they are half step. A half step is the distance from any key on the keyboard to the very next key above or below, whether black or white. And a whole step is the distance from any key to two keys above or below. The keyboard, my rolling keyboard here, makes the first appearance. All right, so let's just drill this in right now so that you understand the difference between a half step and a whole step, okay? So let's say I'm looking at this G right here on a keyboard. To move a half step away, it's got to be either this black key or this black key. Can I get everyone to look up here at this real quick, please? So I'm on G. I'm going to move a half step up. To move a half step on the keyboard means I will go to the very next note, and I'm going up, and that way it's up on the keyboard. So the A flat or the G sharp, remember it's enharmonic, that's a half step away from G. Do you understand? So if I'm still on G and I want to move a half step down, it's got to be this black key. Now, let's say I'm looking at this E. I'm going to move a half step up. What note am I going to go to? F, because there's nothing in between. So the very next note that's touching it going in that direction is a half step, okay? If I'm on an E and I want to move down a half step, I'm moving to this black key. Got it? Now let's talk about whole step. I'm going to go back to this G. I'm going to move a whole step up. And on the piano, that's that way. So that means how many keys? Two keys. So I go 1, 2. So a whole step away from G is A. Let's move a whole step down from G. 1, 2. What letter? F. Okay. So now let's go to B. I want to move a whole step from B going up. What key? C sharp or D flat, because I have to move 2. A whole step does not mean just from one white key to the very next white key. Does that make sense? You've got to count the keys in between. So I'm starting here. I go 1, 2. There's a whole step away. To move a whole step down from B, 1, 2. So a whole step down from B is A. Capiche? Thank you. All right. So let's look at it. You see that they've been notated this way on these keyboards. From C to C sharp is a half step. From D to D sharp is a half step. And you see that the interval here for the whole step is a little bit wider. From that white key to that white key is a whole step because there's one in between. However, from E to F sharp is the whole step. So it looks like it's wider, but it's not. It's the same interval. Okay? Now, the key a half step up from C is C sharp. I'm moving half a step up, there's C sharp. The key is also a half step down from D. So it's D flat. We've already talked about naming the black keys. And the fact that it has two names is called what? enharmonic. That's what that means. So many notes sound the same but are written differently. These notes are called enharmonic notes. We already have that in our definition, so we're good to go there. Okay, so let's practice this. Here's a little keyboard at the top of your page, an example that you can use to answer these questions, okay? So number one, the enharmonic note for F flat is, Ashton, it's E. So if I'm looking at the keyboard here, here's F flat, and notice it's in parentheses because it's a white key, and it's an enharmonic name is E. So the answer is E. Jocelyn, what is the enharmonic name for E sharp? It's F. So we found E sharp here, and F is the same note. They sound the same. So we got E and F. Bennett, the enharmonic note for C flat is B. And Sierra, the enharmonic note for B sharp is C. So remember I was telling you that some of the white keys have two different names too. Y'all did really well getting the fact that the black keys all have two different names. And when you were required to name that keyboard or label the keyboard on your test, you all did a really great job with that. So from here on out, when I ask you to label a keyboard, I need sharps and flat names for these half steps that are in there, okay? 2. Write the 2 indicated enharmonic notes on the staff and name the notes in the space below. Let's practice this together. 1 half step above G. So the 2 indicated enharmonic notes. The 1 half step above G, let's find it. Here's G. I'm moving a half step up. What are the 2 notes, the enharmonic names there? G sharp and A flat. So G sharp, A flat, and then I need to label them. Uppercase letters, please. Okay, B. 1 half step down below F. 1 half step below F. What is 1 half step below F? Gracie. What's a half step below F? F flat and E. Very good. So F flat and E. C, 1 half step below B. Leslie? B flat and B flat and A sharp. Nice. And D, 1 half step above D. Ben? D sharp and D sharp and what? E flat. E flat. Very good. Miss Duke, would you play the 2 pitches that we see? I'd like for you to look at this while she does this. In example A, first is G sharp and then A flat. They sound exactly the same. F flat and E. They sound exactly the same. C, B flat, A sharp, sounding the same, and D sharp and E flat. Now every pitch in each example looks a lot different than the next, right? This looks like it's going to be lower than this one, but it's not. They're the same. All right, 3. Write the indicated notes on the staff and name the notes in the spaces below. If they're enharmonic notes, write both. All right, so if there are enharmonic notes, we'll write both. I'm going to move this up some. How many of you are finding that that little keyboard example at the top of your page has been very helpful for you to help you answer this, right? Okay, so remember that here on out, you need to have a keyboard like that. So for your tests, I will allow you to pick one of these up before a test and you label it so that you can use it. You will need it. Unless you have that image burned in your head and you can do it without having to look at this chart, think if this is your table of periodic elements that you would need in chemistry. You got to have it. All right, A. One whole step above G. Avery, what's a whole step above G?
A flat and G sharp.
A whole step above G, above G sharp. I'm sorry, you're right. One whole step above G sharp. Start on G sharp and move a whole step from there.
Oh, I thought you were on B2. It's A sharp and B flat.
A sharp and B flat. Let's go back and look at this little, I know I'm on bass clef, I'll fix it. So she found G sharp, guys, look right here. And she went a whole step above. So 1, 2, it's A sharp and B flat. Let me change it, I'm in bass clef and I wrote it in treble clef. G sharp. A sharp, B flat. Notice my symbols are before the notes in the measure, but the symbol comes after the letter when we're labeled them in jazz symbols, okay? B, one whole step below F. Adriana?
That would be
E flat. And? Thank you.
F sharp.
Well, you came up with E flat, which is correct. Let's go back up. We have to use the keyboard to make sure that we're answering this correctly. The question is, a whole step below what pitch? F, right? So find F on your keyboard, and you're moving down by 2 notes, right? So you said E flat. What's the enharmonic name for that note? D sharp. So that's the other answer there, is D sharp. C, one whole step below A. Elvia?
Sorry.
It's G.
Sorry.
That's okay. G. That one doesn't have 2 names that we know of right now, so you're safe. Plus, the example only had 1 blank. So if you came up with 2 answers that you might think, something might be wrong here. There's only 1 place for me to write something. And D, one whole step above E. So you go to your keyboard, find the note for E, and move up, meaning to the right on the keyboard, 2 notes. Kayla, what did you come up with? Yep. F sharp and G flat. She's correct. So the half step thing was kind of easy, right? Oh, I'm just going to the next note, up or down. It's when we start getting into those whole steps where it's easy to make a mistake, okay? All right. Name the notes and indicate whether the distance between each note between each pair of notes is a whole step or a half step. So the first thing we need to do is name all the pitches. Take care of that first. Good boys do fun always. All cows eat grass. I'm going to move that up. Okay. I trust that you were able to answer at least labeling the letters rather quickly, because remember, we've moved past that. You should know how to call out or label notes on the base staff and the treble clef pretty quickly at this point. Now, we're going to figure out if it's a whole step or a half step. If you've not been playing piano for years, you need to look at a keyboard. You understand what I'm saying? If you don't have this image already just a part of your brain, like as well as A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z, then you're the one. You look at a keyboard every time. Got it? That's your job. So we're trying to figure out if from B to C sharp is a whole step or a half step. So I'm going to start on B, and here's C sharp. So how many notes are there? 1, 2. So that's a whole step. From C to B, is there anything in between C and B? No, so it's a half step. E to F, whole or half? Half. On the keyboard, E and F naturally has the relationship to each other as a half step. And G to A, whole step. There's a pitch in between G and A. And that's whole steps, half steps, and harmonic, and how to find them on the keyboard.